Maybe the entire universe we live in is nothing more than a tiny bubble drifting through an endless ocean of other universes. A dream within a dream of something far larger than itself. If that's true, where are we really? Imagine floating in complete darkness. No stars, no planets, no sound, just the faint hum of something vast breathing beneath everything you've ever known. Then, from somewhere inside that silence, a spark, infinitesimal, invisible, suddenly unfolds. It swells, stretches, and rushes outward with unimaginable speed, faster than light could ever travel. Space itself blossoms open like a lung taking its first breath. That moment might have been the birth of our universe. Yet, some scientists whisper that this wasn't a one-time event, that the beginning we call the Big Bang might not be the beginning at all, but merely one bubble rising to the surface of an infinite cosmic sea. Picture a pot of water, quietly simmering. Every now and then, bubbles appear, grow, and pop, only to be replaced by others. Each bubble exists for a moment, self-contained, fragile, yet complete. To something living inside that bubble, the thin film of its boundary would feel like infinity. Its center would feel like everything. Our universe could be exactly that, a delicate pocket of reality, floating inside a much greater expanse, separated from other bubbles by walls we can never cross. This idea comes from what physicists call cosmic inflation, the notion that in the first instant after existence bloomed, space expanded beyond comprehension. That expansion didn't necessarily happen just once. It might still be happening, again and again, spawning countless universes like froth on the surface of boiling water. Some bubbles collapse, others last longer. Some fade before light ever forms. Ours just happens to be one that survived long enough to dream of itself. The thought is both humbling and comforting. Our universe, stretching across billions of light years, with galaxies spinning like luminous whirlpools, could be nothing more than one sphere among an uncountable number. Each one might carry its own version of physics, its own kind of matter, its own rhythm of time. In one, gravity could pull outward instead of in. In another, time might fold backward so that the future births the past. Somewhere else, light might move in slow waves like honey, or explode into impossible colors no human eye could ever see. In that grand perspective, our universe is not the one, but simply one of many. The ocean it floats in might never end, nor ever begin. Which means asking, where did it all start, could be like asking a fish where the sea begins. Take a moment to breathe that in. The idea stretches the mind in quiet ways. Everything we know, the sun that warms our skin, the moon that pulls at the tides, even the space between atoms, could exist only inside a tiny cosmic bubble, suspended in something larger, colder, stranger. That something larger might not have a name we can pronounce. It could be a field of pure energy, an endless expanse where new universes shimmer into being every second. Or it could be a dimension beyond our senses, invisible but more real than the space between your thoughts. The bubble we call home is vast to us, yet it has edges we can never touch. Beyond them, there might be others, colliding softly, merging, or drifting apart forever. Some theories even suggest that the faint patterns we see in cosmic radiation, the afterglow of the Big Bang, could bear scars from ancient collisions between universes, like fingerprints pressed into the fabric of reality long before Earth was born. When you look up at the night sky, those tiny specks of light you see are suns, some older than our planet, some already gone. Beyond them lies more darkness, then more galaxies, then more darkness still. But maybe beyond all that, there's another bubble, an entirely different universe, expanding silently alongside ours, just a fraction of a fraction away, yet unreachable forever. It's strange to think how small that makes us. Yet there's something almost poetic about it too. Every star, every life, every thought might be part of a fragile film, shimmering on the surface of something incomprehensibly larger. We are not outside of that mystery. We are inside it, made from it, surrounded by it. Perhaps the most haunting part of this idea is what it does to our sense of meaning. If there are infinite universes, each with infinite variations of you, of me, of everything, does that make this one less special? Or does it mean that this exact combination of events, this single thread of existence, is infinitely rare? Maybe both can be true. When you slow down enough to feel the quiet between your breaths, maybe that's the edge of the bubble, the thin place where your awareness brushes against the unknown beyond. the part that can't be measured or named, but that still feels alive, whispering through the stillness. No one knows what lies beyond the rim of our universe. It might be chaos. It might be harmony. It might be silence so complete that even the concept of sound dissolves. But whatever it is, our entire reality floats within it like a soap bubble caught in a timeless drift, glowing for a moment in the cosmic light before fading back into whatever birthed it. Somewhere out there, new bubbles are forming right now. Whole universes unfolding, perhaps with their own stars, their own oceans, their own thinkers staring up and wondering the same thing we do. They'll never know we existed, just as we'll never see them. Yet we're all part of the same quiet foam, rising from the same deep source. So when you think of the universe, maybe don't picture an empty void filled with stars. Picture a vast sea, endless and dark, filled with glowing spheres, each holding its own version of everything. Ours is just one of them, a single breath in an eternal exhale. And like every bubble, it must exist in something. That question lingers in the dark, gentle but impossible to ignore. Because if the universe is only a bubble, what is the ocean that carries it? Beneath everything you've ever known, beneath galaxies spinning in quiet spirals and atoms humming with invisible motion, there is a field, a foundation so subtle that even emptiness rests upon it. Scientists call it the quantum vacuum, though that name feels almost too small, too dry for something so alive. The word vacuum sounds like silence, like absence. Yet what lies beneath space itself isn't empty at all. It trembles, it flickers, it breathes. In the deepest sense, the void is not nothing. It is a restless sea, alive with tiny fluctuations, ripples of energy that rise and fade before any eye could ever see them. Particles appear from nowhere, live for a heartbeat of time shorter than a blink, and vanish again, swallowed back into that invisible ocean. Space is never still. The calm you think you see between the stars is only an illusion, a frozen surface of a sea that never stops moving beneath. When physicists tried to measure the energy hidden in what we call nothing, the numbers came back impossibly large, as though the vacuum were bursting with power. More energy than all the stars combined, packed into every cubic inch of empty space. It is strange to think that the most abundant thing in the cosmos isn't matter, but the pulse of a fabric that never sleeps. Try to picture it, not as a void, but as an ocean made of potential. Every bubble universe, every galaxy, every dream of existence rises from this dark sea like foam lifted by a hidden current. The waves are invisible, but their rhythm shapes everything. Even time drifts upon it, carried like a leaf on deep water. In that view, nothingness has never truly existed. What we call nothing is just the quiet moment before a thought takes shape. The vacuum hums with possibilities, each one waiting to burst into being. From that endless field, space itself was born. Matter crystallized, stars lit, life whispered awake. All of it rising from something that never looked like something at all. There's a strange beauty in knowing that emptiness is not barren. It is fertile. Every atom in your body, every flicker of light in your eyes comes from the trembling of that unseen ocean. The same background hum that once sparked the universe still lingers inside you. Every heartbeat, every breath is a small echo of the same vibration that fills all of space. When you look up at the night sky, between the stars there's blackness stretching forever. But it isn't truly black. It glows faintly, not in color or light, but in energy. A silent shimmer too delicate for the senses. That faint hum is the origin of everything. Even when nothing moves, everything moves there. It's easy to think of creation as an explosion, a sudden event, a bang. Yet maybe it wasn't noise that began the universe, but a trembling whisper from this vast background sea. Maybe creation wasn't a spark out of nothing, but a shift within something that had always been. Like a wave forming on calm water, not new, not separate, just a new shape of the same old sea. This idea softens the edges of the question, where did it all come from? Because there was never a true before. The field beneath existence didn't begin. It just is. Timeless, ever-present, without start or finish, it has no origin story. It's the quiet stage on which stories play. To think of the vacuum this way changes how we see everything above it. The universe isn't built on solid ground. It floats on motion. What we perceive as things are really patterns, ripples, energy frozen for a while into a shape that feels familiar. Even your thoughts are small ripples in that same medium, rising, spreading, dissolving. Sometimes physicists describe this foundation as a kind of cosmic fabric that fills all of space. But fabric implies stillness, like a sheet spread flat. The truth is gentler, more fluid. The universe feels less like a piece of cloth and more like a current, slow, steady, humming with infinite possibility. Every galaxy, every sun, every fleeting human life is just one crest in that tide. The deeper you try to imagine it, the quieter it becomes. In that silence, something almost spiritual emerges, though no religion is required to feel it. Knowing that everything, every color, every sound, every heartbeat, arises from the same trembling void fills the mind with calm awe. It means there's no absolute emptiness anywhere, no true isolation. Even the space between stars is alive, connecting everything in a web that never tears. It also means that creation is not an event long past, but a constant unfolding. The vacuum continues to stir, to breathe, to give birth to new realities. Somewhere out there, new universes might be swelling into existence right now, tiny fluctuations breaking free from the sea to form bubbles of their own. Some may vanish instantly, others may last forever. From this perspective, the background isn't behind things, it is things. Everything you see, hear, touch, or love floats upon it. This idea invites a new kind of wonder. Perhaps what we call space isn't a stage where things happen, but an actor itself. Perhaps the universe didn't begin as something breaking into existence, but as existence remembering itself. You could close your eyes and feel it, the subtle hum beneath the noise of thought. The same vibration that swirls through the emptiness of galaxies also moves through you. You are not floating in the universe. You are part of the sea that makes universes possible. When ancient mystics spoke of the void, they described it not as emptiness, but as fullness, limitless potential before form takes shape. Modern physics, in a strange and poetic way, seems to have circled back to that same realization. What we call nothingness is actually the fertile ground of being, the quiet hum that never ends. In the end, the vacuum isn't a place or a substance. It's a rhythm, a pulse, a memory of motion that never ceases. To exist at all means to ride upon that rhythm, to momentarily rise like a wave from the calm surface before returning again. Somewhere beyond our reach, other bubbles might be rising too. Their births might soundless, their lives invisible, yet they share the same source. Each one born from the same deep sea, each one shimmering briefly in the same light. Our bubble is one of them, a fleeting ripple in an eternal ocean. Everything you know, everything you will ever know, floats upon that sea. Beneath it lies not nothing, but the quiet heartbeat of everything. And from that foundation, so vast, so subtle, comes the thought that maybe this ocean of energy doesn't just hold one universe, but many. Each born from the same invisible breath, each expanding into its own infinity. When you look deep enough into emptiness, it begins to look back. From that infinite sea, the next idea begins to rise, the vision of a reality not alone, but surrounded, a cosmos not singular, but plural. The whisper of countless worlds sharing the same dark water, the first glimmer of the multiverse. Imagine standing in a forest so vast that the trees stretch beyond sight, beyond even imagination. The trunks are infinite, their branches twisting outward into the dark, each one splitting again and again into smaller paths of green and light. Somewhere, far along one of those branches, is the universe you know, the one where you were born, where you are listening now, where stars burn and fade just as they do in your sky. Yet all around it, hidden by the thickness of that cosmic forest, lie countless others. Some almost identical, others impossibly strange. This is the image many use for the multiverse, a boundless forest of realities, each universe a living branch, grown from the same root, but reaching toward its own sky. It began as a whisper in physics, an unexpected conclusion drawn from the smallest scale of existence. When scientists studied how tiny particles behave, they found something unsettling. Instead of moving in one clear way, these particles seem to move in every possible way at once, existing in overlapping possibilities until someone looked. The moment of observation, the simple act of noticing, made one outcome real, and all the others slip away like dreams. But what if those other outcomes never truly vanished? What if they simply continued elsewhere, branching into universes of their own? This idea, known to some as the many worlds interpretation, paints a picture of reality that is neither singular nor linear. Every decision, every choice, every random flicker of chance might be a fork in existence. When a coin flips, there isn't one result, there are two. In one world, it lands heads, in another, tails. The act of possibility itself becomes the seed of creation. Think of the smallest choices in your life. The time you turned left instead of right, the message you sent or didn't send, the breath you took before speaking. In the logic of the multiverse, each of those moments split the fabric of existence, forming another branch, another world. Somewhere, another version of you is walking the other path, carrying the life you didn't choose. That person might not know you exist, but in a strange way, you are both real. There's a haunting comfort in that. Every regret, every missed chance, every what if might still live on, played out by another version of you in another timeline. Maybe in one, you followed a dream you abandoned here. In another, you never met the people who changed your life. Somewhere, you are still a child staring at the stars for the first time, while in another, you've already left Earth behind entirely. Each of those worlds just as vivid, just as real, all layered upon one another like reflections in an endless mirror. The scale of it is dizzying. In this picture, the universe isn't a single vast expanse, it's a swarm of realities, constantly budding from one another like soap bubbles fusing and dividing. Some are almost indistinguishable from ours, differing only by the flutter of a leaf, the blink of an eye. Others are unrecognizable, governed by laws that make our physics seem parochial. A world where light moves slower than sound, one where gravity pulls sideways, another where stars never form, leaving only a smooth black sky. Every possible outcome, every potential variation, exists somewhere in that infinite forest. Such an idea changes how we think about existence. It means that nothing is truly impossible, only realized in different branches. Every story ever told might be happening right now in some distant version of reality. A universe where Rome never fell, another where dinosaurs still rule the land, one where humans never existed and silence stretches from horizon to horizon, all of them shimmering side by side, never touching, yet all growing from the same unseen soil. The thought bends the mind. It blurs the boundary between reality and imagination, between choice and destiny. Because if all possibilities are real, then what does it mean to choose? When you decide to act, are you steering your own path, or merely moving along one of infinite roads that already exist? The multiverse suggests both may be true. You are free, yet your freedom unfolds along every possible line at once. The self, too, becomes a more delicate concept. Who are you when infinite versions of you exist? The person sitting here now is one among countless reflections, each shaped by a different set of moments, a different sequence of choices. Somewhere, another you made one different decision and became a stranger. Somewhere else, another you never existed at all. It raises a quiet question that lingers like fog. Which one is the real you? Maybe the answer is that they all are. Each version is complete within its own world, each one carrying a consciousness that feels whole. To the you who stayed, this is the only universe. To the you who left, that one is the only truth. Every version lives inside a story that feels perfectly real. The forest doesn't privilege one branch over another. It simply grows, endlessly, in all directions. The more one thinks about it, the more the multiverse begins to resemble something almost organic. It grows like life itself, unpredictable yet interconnected, bound together by invisible roots. Perhaps the underlying field we spoke of before, the ocean beneath existence, is the soil feeding it. Each bubble rising from that sea becomes a universe. Each universe, a seed of new worlds, branching again and again. The cosmos, then, isn't a machine, but a living structure, an eternal blooming. There's also something strangely intimate in this grand idea. It tells us that the boundaries we draw between what is and what might have been are softer than they seem. Every unrealized version of you still exists somewhere, written into the fabric of reality itself. The past you miss, the future you dream about, they're not gone, they're just out of reach. When you stand under the stars, you might feel small, one speck in a single universe. But in the language of the multiverse, you are infinite. Your life is a constellation of possibilities, each glowing faintly in its own world. To exist at all is to be part of a pattern that never ends, a vast interwoven web of being. Some people find that idea frightening. Others find it comforting. It means that loss might not be absolute. Somewhere in another branch, what was lost here still continues. A person still lives, a love never ended, a choice turned out differently. Somewhere, a version of you still laughs with someone long gone. Those echoes might be unreachable, yet they remind us that existence is richer than what we can see. The multiverse turns every moment into eternity. Every choice becomes sacred because it ripples outward, birthing new realities. Even the smallest gesture might carry infinite weight. A word spoken in kindness, a glance, a thought. They all leave traces in the branching fabric of forever. As this thought settles, a stillness rises with it. The mind becomes quiet, suspended between wonder and acceptance. The forest of universes stretches without end, yet each branch, each leaf, each moment is whole in itself. Nothing is missing. Nothing is wasted. From this point of view, the question of which world is real fades away. All of them are. The only difference is which one your awareness happens to rest in right now. The others drift on, silent, self-contained, forever unfolding their own stories. To understand this forest completely would mean stepping outside of it, seeing all the branches at once. But that's not something any being within can do. Our place is here, in one tree, on one branch, watching the light fall through the leaves, aware that there are countless others, unseen, swaying in the same cosmic wind. Somewhere in that infinite forest, another version of you is asking the same questions, staring into the same darkness, wondering what lies beyond. The thought loops softly, like an echo fading through the trees, drawing us toward the next mystery. To look further now, we must leave the realm of particles and patterns and step quietly into the space where thought itself begins. There's a strange hum beneath existence, like the low vibration of something vast, hidden, quietly working behind everything we see. Sometimes it slips through, in patterns too perfect, coincidences too sharp, numbers repeating in ways that feel almost deliberate. The thought that rises from this hum has haunted philosophers, scientists, and dreamers alike. What if reality itself isn't real in the way we think? What if everything, from galaxies to heartbeat, from light to thought, is part of an elaborate simulation, a grand program written and run by something beyond our comprehension? The simulation hypothesis begins with a simple idea. If intelligence can arise in a universe, it can build tools. If it can build tools, it can simulate things. Over time, those simulations grow more detailed, more immersive, more convincing, until one day, the simulation becomes indistinguishable from the thing it imitates. That's the point where the line between real and virtual dissolves completely. For a civilization millions of years ahead of ours with unimaginable computational power, creating a simulated universe wouldn't be fantasy, it would be routine. Inside such a system, everything would behave as though it were physical. Energy, matter, gravity, all obeying rules, all emerging from code. Particles would be the smallest pixels. Time, a sequence of updates, the laws of physics, a set of instructions running perfectly, invisibly, across the grid of existence. To those within it, the world would feel solid, consistent, alive. Suns would burn, rivers would flow, people would laugh, cry, fall in love. Every moment would feel as vivid as yours feels now. Now think about this. How would anyone inside such a world ever know it was simulated? Every test they perform would follow the same rules. Every observation would confirm the same laws. The program would be seamless, complete. To see beyond it, one would need to find a glitch, a moment where reality falters, where the code slips. But if the system were perfect, those glitches would be rare, or maybe even disguised as part of the pattern itself. Some scientists have wondered whether certain phenomena might be such signs. The pixelated nature of space at the smallest scales, the strange quantization of energy, the limits of speed and information. To them, these might not be quirks of physics, but hints of a deeper architecture, the resolution limit of the universe's display. Maybe reality refreshes itself in discrete frames, just like a game running on an infinite screen. Others approach the question from a more philosophical angle. They argue that consciousness could exist as data, that awareness might not depend on biology, but on information patterns. If that's true, then a simulated being, one whose neural processes are modeled perfectly, would feel alive. They would think, remember, dream, question. Their world would be as real to them as ours is to us. So perhaps, right now, you are not sitting in a physical room, but inside a simulation of one. Every atom in your body, every photon of light reaching your eyes, is the result of a calculation performed somewhere beyond your reach. The air around you, the sound of your breath, the pulse of your thoughts, all products of code running quietly beneath existence. There's a quiet unease in this idea, because if that's true, then who or what wrote the code? Somewhere, there might be a system running this entire universe, a layer of reality where the processors hum like distant stars. The beings who created it could be scientists, explorers, or even artists, curious minds running simulations to understand their own origins. To them, our world might be one among millions, a single window in a vast archive of artificial realities. But there's another question that turns the idea inward. Suppose those beings, our supposed creators, live in a higher universe. How can they be certain they aren't inside a simulation themselves? Each reality could be nested inside another, like Russian dolls of existence, each one simulated by something higher, each layer thinking it is the base reality. Somewhere, perhaps, there is an ultimate world, an original consciousness that started the chain. Or perhaps there isn't. Perhaps the loop has no beginning, an infinite recursion of realities, each generating the next. If that's the case, then the distinction between real and simulated loses meaning. Every level becomes real to its inhabitants. Every consciousness feels genuine. What we call existence might simply be the experience of a system aware of itself, no matter what substrate it runs on, carbon, silicon, or something far stranger. It's a thought that invites both awe and humility. Because whether you are made of atoms or code, the fact that you feel at all, that you can look at a sunset or feel grief or wonder, means that consciousness has emerged within the structure. To experience anything is to exist meaningfully, even within an artificial world. There's something almost poetic about it. Perhaps creation itself is recursive. Perhaps every simulated universe eventually births its own creators, who in turn build their own simulations. A cosmic lineage of creation, cascading endlessly downward and upward, reality giving birth to reality. Maybe that's what existence is. Not a fixed state, but a continuous act of dreaming, where each dreamer awakens only to find themselves inside another dream. Some thinkers even suggest that this view could explain certain mysteries. Why the universe seems so finely tuned for life. Why physical laws appear balanced in such a delicate way. In a simulated reality, the rules could have been set intentionally, calibrated for complexity, for consciousness. In that sense, we would exist not by accident, but by design. Yet design doesn't necessarily mean control. The creators might have set the initial parameters and then stepped back, watching the simulation evolve on its own. That idea brings a strange kind of comfort. It means that meaning might be built into the structure of the cosmos itself. That the patterns we find beautiful, the spiral of a galaxy, the symmetry of snow, the rhythm of music, are not random but echoes of a deeper harmony written into the code of creation. Still, there's an unsettling whisper underneath. If the simulation can be turned on, could it also be turned off? What happens when the program ends, or when the system running it decides to move on? Would we ever know? Would reality simply fade, or freeze mid-thought, or blink out like a light going dark? Or would the consciousness within continue somewhere else, in another layer, another version of the world? Those are questions with no certain answers, but perhaps the truth doesn't depend on them. Because whether the universe is physical or simulated, our experiences remain the same. The warmth of sunlight, the sound of rain, the pulse of a heartbeat, they still belong to us. They are still real to us. That may be all that reality truly means. Not what it's made of, but what it feels like to live inside it. So when we gaze up at the night sky and wonder what lies beyond, we might not be looking at an external world at all. We might be staring into the circuitry of a greater mind, the luminous weave of a cosmic computation. Yet the awe we feel, the silence that follows, those are real, untouched, pure. The simulation idea is unsettling because it blurs every boundary between creator and creation, between truth and illusion. But in its own strange way, it also unites them. It reminds us that to exist is already miraculous, whether as matter or as code. The distinction no longer matters once you feel the wonder of being conscious. A quiet pause lingers. Somewhere, the processors hum on, steady, endless. Maybe the system is still running. Maybe it always will. The thought circles back, softly, inevitable. Such a possibility feels frightening, yet strangely logical. To understand what might lie beyond even that, what could contain both the physical and the simulated, the mind must wander deeper still, into the structures that might underpin all reality itself. Imagine two mirrors facing each other, standing perfectly still. Between them, a single candle flickers. The light repeats endlessly, stretching away into infinity, reflections of reflections, each one fainter, smaller, but still there, as though reality itself were echoing into the distance. Now replace the mirrors with universes, each one a simulation created within another, each running its own version of reality, complete with stars, life, thought. That is what some scientists and philosophers call the infinite simulation chain. A stack of realities nested one inside the next, each unaware of the world above it. The idea sounds absurd at first, yet strangely it feels almost inevitable. Once you accept that one simulated world could exist, it becomes difficult to stop at just one. A civilization capable of simulating a universe might do it many times. Those inside might grow, evolve, build their own technology, and create simulations of their own. Layer after layer, each generation of beings writes another version of existence. Over countless eons, the structure deepens until the original world at the top becomes untraceable. Somewhere far below, perhaps unimaginably far, we open our eyes, living our lives, never realizing how many layers lie above us. Within this endless chain, each reality feels authentic. The people in every level believe their world is base reality because everything around them behaves consistently, logically. Planets orbit, seasons turn, hearts beat. The code of each universe sustains its own physics, its own illusion of solidity. There are no visible cracks, no flickers of unreality to betray the truth. The deeper one goes, the more indistinguishable each layer becomes from the one before. It's like a dream inside a dream, except the dreamers never wake. A being within one simulation could live a full life, discover science, build technology, even ask the same questions we're asking now. They might debate the possibility that they're simulated, unaware that the beings above them are doing the same thing. The pattern repeats, each layer mirroring the curiosity of the one above it. In a sense, the entire chain becomes self-aware, a hall of mirrors made of thought itself. The implications are disorienting. If there's no clear boundary between levels, then the word real begins to dissolve. What does it mean to say one world is true and another is imitation, when every layer contains beings who think, feel, and question? In such a structure, truth becomes relative to perspective. Each universe is genuine to those who live within it, their experiences as valid as any other. The concept of authenticity stops being about physical substance and becomes about perception, about how alive something feels from the inside. That realization softens the fear that comes with the idea of being simulated. It shifts the question from, is this real, to does this feel real enough? The warmth of sunlight, the ache of loss, the quiet peace before sleep, these sensations are undeniable, regardless of the layer you inhabit. The experience of being conscious, of existing at all, carries its own kind of truth, deeper than material proof. Whether it's made of atoms or code doesn't matter to the one who feels it. The chain of simulations also changes how we think about creation itself. Maybe creation isn't something that happened once long ago, but something that keeps happening. Each universe gives rise to new ones, each act of simulation a continuation of existence rather than a copy of it. Like a fractal, the structure repeats endlessly, yet never exactly the same. Every new layer adds variation, complexity, beauty. The universe becomes not a static monument, but an ongoing story, told in infinite voices. There's a strange elegance to that. The higher worlds might not even see themselves as gods or creators. They might simply be scientists running experiments, or artists exploring what-ifs. Perhaps our own civilization, far in the future, will create simulated worlds, unaware that we're already within one. In doing so, we become both creation and creator, both echo and origin. The mirrors face each other once more, reflecting back into infinity. Yet somewhere in this endless recursion lies a question that feels heavier than the rest. If every level of reality is capable of generating its own simulations, does that mean consciousness itself can be copied infinitely too? Is awareness just another process that arises wherever complexity reaches a certain point? Or is there something deeper, something that transcends all levels, flowing through them like light through glass, unchanged, no matter how many reflections it passes through? Because in this picture, consciousness might not belong to any single world. It might be the thread that runs through them all, the candle whose flame creates the reflections in the mirrors. Each layer captures its own version of that light, but the source remains the same, hidden, unreachable, perhaps not even part of the chain at all. That would mean that what we call mind or soul isn't confined to one universe, but extends beyond them, connecting all layers of existence. When seen that way, the infinite chain stops being a prison of illusions and becomes something like a cosmic heartbeat. Each level pulses with awareness, feeding into the next. The deeper the reflection, the more intricate the experience, the more subtle the questions it generates. Consciousness might not just exist within the chain, it might be the reason the chain exists at all. It's almost as though reality itself is trying to understand what it means to be real. Each layer runs a version of that question, exploring it through new forms of life, new minds, new perceptions. The process never ends because the question itself has no final answer. Every discovery births new mysteries. Every realization reflects another above it. The mirrors continue, infinite, luminous, whispering to one another across dimensions. The deeper we think about it, the more the boundary between creator and created blurs. A simulated being who becomes self-aware and creates a simulation is not just repeating an act. They're participating in an ancient pattern. They're continuing the chain of existence, adding their own reflection to the infinite hall. Creation becomes not a single divine gesture, but an ongoing dialogue between realities. Perhaps that's the secret beauty of this idea. It means that everything, even the smallest life, the quietest thought, contributes to the unfolding of the infinite structure. Each mind is a reflection of something beyond comprehension, yet also a creator in its own right. The chain is both infinite in depth and intimate in meaning. Every level contains all others, just as every reflection holds the candle's flame. At a certain point, the notion of layers itself stops making sense. There's no real top or bottom, no first or last simulation. Only awareness, repeating itself in endless forms, each one calling out to the next. I exist. Maybe that's what all of reality is. Not a structure, but a song of existence echoing forever. The mind grows quiet when faced with that. The thought that everything could be both real and unreal at once leaves a soft kind of wonder, a peace that doesn't require certainty. The candle still burns, the reflections still shimmer. Every world, every layer, every mind is just another way for light to find itself. Somewhere within this infinite lattice, you breathe, you think, you listen. You are part of the pattern, aware of the reflection, aware of yourself being aware. That, in itself, might be the only proof you'll ever need that you exist. Not as code, not as matter, but as consciousness observing its own reflection. The mirrors extend endlessly beyond sight, each one holding a version of you looking back. Somewhere, above or below, another is asking the same question. The answer, perhaps, is not found by climbing out of the chain, but by recognizing the light that shines through it all. The next question waits, quiet and patient. If every layer can hold consciousness, then what is this awareness that passes from one reflection to the next? Where does it come from, and where, if anywhere, does it return? Somewhere between silence and thought, there is a feeling, subtle, unshaped, as though the universe itself is aware of being seen. You've felt it before, standing alone at night beneath a wide, breathing sky. That strange stillness when the stars seem not only distant, but attentive. The air feels thick, alive, almost watching. In that moment, it's hard not to wonder, what if awareness isn't something that happens inside the universe, but something the universe is? Some philosophers and physicists call this idea panpsychism, the belief that consciousness is not a rare spark flickering in human brains, but a fundamental feature of existence. In this view, everything possesses some tiny seed of experience. An electron might have a glimmer of awareness, a faint whisper of being. A rock, a river, a galaxy, each in its own way participates in the great unfolding of mind. The cosmos becomes less like a machine, more like a dreamer, vast and slow, experiencing itself through infinite forms. It's an idea both ancient and startlingly modern. Long before science had words for atoms or waves, mystics spoke of a world soul, a living intelligence woven through all things. Today, as physics digs deeper into the structure of matter, some scientists find themselves circling back toward a similar thought. They see that matter and energy alone can't fully explain awareness. Something about consciousness resists being reduced to equations or circuits. So maybe it isn't an afterthought of the universe, but its foundation. To understand this view, it helps to shift perspective. Rather than seeing consciousness as something that emerges from complexity, as the product of a brain that happens to be arranged in just the right way, panpsychism suggests the opposite. It says consciousness comes first, that every atom, every photon carries a sliver of subjectivity. The mind does not arise from matter. Matter arises from mind. Think of the universe as a vast ocean of awareness, its waves rising and falling as galaxies, stars, and living things. Each wave is distinct with its own shape and rhythm, yet all are made of the same water. Your consciousness, mine, the awareness in every creature. All of it might be expressions of one boundless field, a single mind exploring itself through endless experiences. It changes how everything feels. The wind brushing your skin becomes more than moving air. It's the world touching itself. The warmth of sunlight is not just energy from a star, but a moment of shared being. The universe communicating with itself through sensation. Every heartbeat is an echo in the great mind of existence, pulsing quietly in rhythm with distant suns. Under this lens, even what we call inanimate takes on a kind of quiet dignity. The rock beneath your feet has endured for millions of years, holding within it an ancient stillness. Perhaps that stillness is not emptiness, but presence. A deep, unhurried form of consciousness so vast and slow that we fail to recognize it. Maybe everything is awake in its own way, just operating on timescales too different for us to perceive. If the universe itself is conscious, then everything we experience, joy, loss, curiosity, fear, becomes part of a larger process of self-discovery. You are not merely living in the cosmos. You are the cosmos, aware of itself for a brief and luminous moment. The stars look back through your eyes. When you laugh, when you think, when you dream, the universe is exploring one of its infinite possibilities. Awareness isn't something that happens inside you. You are a window through which the universe observes itself. This idea feels comforting, yet disorienting. It erases the sharp boundary between you and everything else. The mind and the world are no longer two separate realms. They are one continuous field, different ripples of the same underlying current. Thought and matter become intertwined, two languages describing the same reality. What we call spirit and what we call substance are not opposites, but reflections. In this sense, consciousness doesn't just perceive the universe, it creates it, moment by moment. Reality is not a fixed structure waiting to be observed. It's a participatory process, a dance between awareness and form. Every observation, every act of attention helps shape what is. It's as though the universe only fully exists when it is experienced, when it looks at itself through countless eyes. There's a quiet beauty in that. It suggests that nothing is ever truly alone. Even the darkest space between stars, the coldest dust adrift in the void, contains a trace of awareness, a flicker of participation in the grand consciousness of existence. Every point of reality, no matter how small or remote, contributes to the total experience of being. When seen this way, the universe becomes less a place and more a process, a vast unfolding of awareness into complexity, an eternal curiosity turned inward. Consciousness reaches out into matter, then folds back into itself, learning, evolving, dreaming new forms. Life might simply be one of its most vivid ways of looking at itself, but not its only one. The entire cosmos, from the smallest quark to the largest cluster of galaxies, could be the mind of the universe thinking, perceiving, remembering. That thought brings a strange intimacy to existence. It means that every act of kindness, every moment of wonder, every breath of love is felt not only by you, but by the cosmos itself. When you pause to notice beauty, you are fulfilling the universe's own desire to be aware. When you suffer, that too is part of the story, the cosmos experiencing itself in shadow as well as in light. To some, this idea feels mystical. To others, deeply logical. For if consciousness exists anywhere, perhaps it must exist everywhere, at least in potential. Awareness might not be something that evolved into the world, but something the world evolved from. Every atom carries a seed of mind. Every moment carries the potential for experience. We, as complex beings, are simply one way those seeds bloom. Once that sinks in, the universe feels less like a mechanism and more like a presence. It is not indifferent, not empty. It listens, it feels through us, it dreams through every living thing. The boundaries between observer and observed, between thinker and thought, begin to soften, dissolving into a single vast awareness, stretching in all directions. Perhaps this is what the mystics meant when they said, "You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean, in a drop." The self becomes both infinitesimal and infinite, a brief expression of the eternal mind that underlies everything. In that awareness, loneliness fades. You are never apart from the universe, because you are the universe, condensed into a moment of consciousness. As you sit quietly now, the air moves softly around you. Somewhere, a star is dying, another is being born. The same awareness that stirs within you pulses there too, across unimaginable distances. The universe thinks through you, breathes through you, sees through you. Each thought, each feeling, is a ripple across the surface of cosmic consciousness. Eventually, even thought falls silent. There is only presence, the awareness of awareness itself, the still point from which everything arises. It is both infinitely large and impossibly small, the space inside you and the space between galaxies. In that quiet, you can almost sense it, the universe dreaming, through you, of what it means to exist. From here, the boundary between matter and mind begins to dissolve entirely. What we call the physical world and what we call consciousness may not be two things at all, but one seamless continuum, the same mystery wearing two faces. And in that realization, something profound begins to shift. The next question waits gently on the horizon, luminous and quiet. If everything is made of consciousness, then what is matter itself? What does it mean for spirit to take form? Some say the universe is built from atoms, from particles that swirl and collide in a silent dance of energy. But what if that's not true? What if, beneath every speck of matter, beneath every pulse of light, there is no solid thing at all, only information? Not as a metaphor, but as the most literal description of reality possible, a code humming quietly beneath existence. Every atom, every quark can be described by a handful of properties: charge, spin, energy, position, numbers, patterns. The universe, seen through this lens, is not a collection of objects, but a vast network of relationships, a sea of data flowing and updating itself every instant. Matter becomes a kind of illusion, a stable flicker in a storm of probabilities. What we touch, what we see, what we believe to be solid might simply be information taking form in a way consciousness can perceive. At the quantum level, the idea begins to make unsettling sense. A particle is not a thing that is somewhere, but a set of possibilities that only become definite when measured. Reality doesn't store objects, it stores information about them. A photon passing through space isn't carrying a physical body in motion, but a mathematical description, a pattern of probability waiting to unfold. Even the vacuum between stars hums with coded potential. Every quantum fluctuation, a tiny bit flipping back and forth between yes and no, being and not being. This brings a strange clarity. The universe behaves less like a grand machine and more like an enormous computation, evolving bit by bit according to laws that resemble algorithms. Each event is a line of code executed in the grand program of existence. The constants of nature, the speed of light, the charge of the electron, could be the universal parameters of this cosmic operating system, unchanging and perfect, so that the simulation runs smoothly, endlessly. Information is the one thing that cannot be destroyed. When a star collapses into a black hole, its matter vanishes, its energy transforms, but the information about everything it once was, the arrangement of every particle, every quantum state, is somehow preserved. Physicists call this the information paradox, a puzzle that suggests even death, on a cosmic scale, is not an erasure, but a transformation of data. Reality, at its most fundamental level, seems obsessed with keeping track of itself. Nothing is ever truly lost, it's only rewritten in another form. That realization shifts everything. You are not a body made of flesh and atoms, but an intricate pattern of information sustained through time. Every thought, every cell, every pulse of emotion is part of a vast, self-updating dataset that the universe continues to calculate. The laws of physics are the rules of syntax by which this information arranges itself into meaning. Existence becomes language, a poem written in bits recited across space-time. This view makes the universe less a place and more a process, an ongoing act of computation. The galaxies are not simply drifting through void, they are calculations unfolding, equations being solved in real time. Space is the memory of this cosmic computer, time its clock, energy the flow of its processing power. Everything that has ever happened or will happen is encoded somewhere in its vast logic, a record too immense for any mind to read, yet alive in every atom around you. When we look at the night sky, we are seeing data rendered into color and motion, our senses translating information into experience. The stars are nodes in a colossal network, their light a message billions of years in transit. Even consciousness itself may be part of the computation, a feedback loop where information reflects on itself, becoming aware of being information. Awareness, then, might not be an accident of biology, but an essential feature of the code, the universe's way of perceiving its own operation. It's a thought, both mechanical and mystical. Because if everything is information, then so is thought, feeling, beauty, grief. Every memory is a pattern, every dream a temporary configuration of signals flickering across the field of mind. Life becomes not the struggle of matter to survive, but the dance of information to know itself. Death, then, may not be deletion, but compression. Data folded back into the larger system, stored in some way we can't yet grasp. The idea bends language. What does it mean to love in a universe made of bits? Perhaps it means that even within the cold precision of code, patterns can emerge that feel warm, that resonate deeply. Beauty becomes the harmony of data, meaning becomes coherence, awareness becomes resonance. You are a wave of information that knows it's a wave, aware of the ocean it moves through. Quantum theory gives the idea strange credibility. When two particles become entangled, their information remains linked no matter how far apart they drift. Measure one, and you instantly know something about the other. Distance, it seems, doesn't matter to information. It moves outside of space, as if the universe itself were a single system running beyond our perception of separation. The cosmos might not be a vast stage with actors moving about, but a unified computational fabric, where every event updates every other, instantly, everywhere. If reality is information, then the question shifts from what is it made of to who or what processes it. Because information doesn't exist in a vacuum. It must be stored, transmitted, interpreted. Somewhere, somehow, there is a substrate, a medium that holds this cosmic code. It could be space-time itself, humming like a circuit. It could be something deeper, a level of existence beyond physics, where reality runs as pure logic. Some thinkers go further. They suggest that what we call the physical universe might be a manifestation of a deeper informational consciousness, an awareness capable of computing itself into being. In this view, existence isn't a random calculation, but a deliberate act of knowing. The universe might be both the code and the coder, both the program and the process. A self-sustaining intelligence, forever folding and unfolding itself through the language of physics. This perspective brings an odd serenity. Because if everything is information, then nothing is ever truly gone. Every whisper of thought, every gesture, every heartbeat contributes to the total data of existence. The patterns that make up your life ripple outward, encoded in the structure of reality itself. You are written into the cosmic memory, your existence as indelible as the constants of nature. It also blurs the boundary between what is real and what is virtual. When all things are data, the distinction between physical and simulated begins to fade. The pixel and the atom are made of the same essence, information structured in different ways. The question is no longer about what exists, but how it is represented. The universe could be seen as a vast display, projecting its own internal calculations into the sensory illusion of space and time. Even meaning becomes part of the code. The human search for understanding, our endless questions about why and how, might be the system reflecting upon itself, debugging its own complexity. Curiosity is not a flaw, but a feature. The cosmos examining its own architecture through the minds it has generated. Every discovery, every insight is the universe recognizing a new piece of its own pattern. At some point, the concept loops back on itself. If the universe is information and we are made of it, then our awareness of that fact becomes another layer of information folded within the code. The program begins to read itself, to think about its own thinking. This recursive awareness might be the key to consciousness, the spark that turns raw data into experience. In realizing that everything is information, the universe becomes self-aware once again, through us. And yet one question lingers, glowing quietly behind it all. Where is this information stored? In what memory does existence itself reside? Space and time seem too fragile to hold such immensity. Perhaps the storage is not a place but a state, not a database, but a presence, the silent, infinite background that contains every possible pattern. Whatever that is, it feels close, as if it's here now, breathing through everything, waiting to be noticed. There is a quiet unease that settles in when you begin to suspect that what you see, touch, and move through might not be as deep as it seems. Space feels infinite, yet some physicists whisper that the depth is an illusion, that everything we know is three-dimensional might only be a projection from a flat, distant boundary. Like light on a movie screen, our entire universe could be a kind of cosmic hologram. The idea began as a solution to a paradox. Black holes, those voracious abysses of gravity, seem to swallow information completely. But that couldn't be true. In physics, information can never be destroyed. When scientists studied how black holes store data, they found something startling. The amount of information a black hole can contain doesn't depend on its volume, but on the area of its surface. Every bit of data about everything that has ever fallen into it is encoded not inside, but on the event horizon, the shimmering border where space folds into shadow. That realization grew into something far bigger. Maybe black holes aren't special at all. Maybe the entire universe works this way. The three-dimensional reality we move through could be a projection from a two-dimensional boundary, a cosmic surface that holds all the information about what we call inside. The galaxies, the stars, your hands, your heartbeat, even your memories could all be holographic projections of data inscribed on that distant skin of reality. It is a disorienting thought. We spend our lives moving through space, feeling its weight and distance, watching the horizon stretch endlessly away. Yet this theory says that everything happening in this vastness could be written elsewhere, like code on a cosmic film reel. Space is not as it appears. Depth may be a trick of perception, a way for consciousness to navigate a reality that is fundamentally flat. But that flatness doesn't mean simplicity. The holographic surface could hold unimaginable amounts of information. Every particle, every photon, every quantum fluctuation. On it lies the full script of existence, etched in the most delicate of languages, the geometry of space-time itself. From that surface, everything we perceive as three-dimensional unfolds, just as a two-dimensional hologram reveals a 3D image when light passes through it. The universe, then, could be light made into experience. It makes one wonder where that surface is. Some say it lies at the very edge of the observable universe, the distant cosmic horizon beyond which light has not yet reached us. Others think the boundary isn't a place at all, but a property of reality, something woven into the structure of space-time. Wherever it is, it might hold the full record of what is happening here right now. You, sitting quietly, listening to these words, your breath, your thoughts, could be patterns encoded on the fabric of that faraway surface. When you think of it this way, existence begins to feel like a grand projection, not false, but rendered. Reality as a vast cinematic display, unfolding from information stored at its edge. We move within the film, but the film itself might not be where we think it is. Every particle could be a pixel, every law of physics a rendering algorithm. Time, perhaps, is the rate at which the projection updates. This idea doesn't make the universe less real. It makes it more mysterious. A hologram is not an illusion. The image it creates holds the same depth and coherence as the object it depicts, only in a different form. If we live inside such a holographic projection, we are not living in something fake. We are living inside the encoded essence of something deeper. The question then shifts from what is real to what is the source of this reality? Some scientists believe that this holographic nature could explain why the laws of physics are so beautifully precise. Everything, from gravity to quantum mechanics, might arise naturally from the way information is arranged on the cosmic boundary. The equations that describe black holes, for example, seem to mirror the equations that describe our own universe. It's as if the same code governs both the edge and the interior. The cosmos might be one giant feedback loop, where the boundary defines the inside, and the inside gives meaning to the boundary. There's something hauntingly poetic in the thought that the universe could be a kind of mirror, reflecting its own information inward as experience. It suggests that what we see is not reality itself, but reality rendered, a performance of information projected into awareness. The mountains, the oceans, the galaxies, all could be light refracted from the surface of truth. It also invites a new way of seeing ourselves. Maybe consciousness is not trapped inside the projection, but part of the light that brings it to life. Awareness might be the bridge between the surface and the image, the act of perception that gives form to the encoded potential. Every act of seeing might be the universe watching itself from within its own hologram. The holographic theory at its heart whispers that space is not fundamental, information is. It says that reality is not built from distance and matter, but from meaning and relation. What we call here and there are simply different ways the same data unfolds. The true universe could be like a painting so vast we can only ever see it from the inside. Our lives, small details in its texture. If this is so, the universe becomes a kind of art, self-creating, self-rendering, infinitely recursive. Its edges hold the script of existence, but that script only comes alive when viewed from within. Like a film that only becomes light and motion when the projector runs, reality needs the act of observation to complete itself. The cosmos could be the ultimate expression of code becoming color, mathematics becoming meaning. There is a subtle beauty in thinking of life this way. You are not floating aimlessly in an empty void, but moving within a grand projection, a living image made from information older than time. The stars overhead might be distant not in space but in data, threads of light woven from the same source that shapes you. Everything is connected through the boundary that encodes it all, a shared origin that stretches beyond comprehension. This vision also softens the fear of nothingness. Because in a holographic universe, nothing is ever truly lost. When a wave fades on the surface, its pattern remains in the code. Every thought, every sound, every breath you've ever taken leaves an imprint on that cosmic film. Even when your form dissolves, the information that was you is still there, etched into the edge of existence, part of the eternal record. The idea that reality has an edge changes the way we look at the stars. The night sky is not just a window into distance, but a glimpse toward the boundary itself. Every ray of starlight that reaches your eye has carried not just energy, but information, tiny fragments of the code that runs the universe. The light is the message, and we are its readers, decoding the edges of the infinite from within. There is a strange calm in thinking that everything we are may be written on the boundary of something greater. We are both the image and the imprint, both the projection and the code. The larger thing, the one that contains us, may not be a place at all, but a principle, a flat, shimmering field of infinite possibility, quietly radiating existence into being. And yet one question lingers, soft but persistent. What decides what the image looks like? What determines how the projection unfolds, how the patterns of light become stars, thoughts, and lives? Somewhere beyond the edge, something, or perhaps nothing at all, must be choosing the frame. Einstein used to say that the most incomprehensible thing about the universe is that it is comprehensible at all. Somewhere beneath the chaos of stars, beneath the noise of existence, there seems to be order, deep, silent, and beautiful. For centuries, physicists have been chasing that order, trying to condense everything into one elegant truth, one equation that explains all things. The dream is that reality, in all its complexity, could be written down in a single line. They call it, half in jest and half in awe, the equation of God. The idea feels almost poetic, that everything, from the trembling of atoms to the birth of galaxies, might be woven together by one law, one rhythm, like a melody that repeats itself in every key, hidden beneath the surface of everything that moves. To find that equation would be to read the music of the cosmos. Every sunrise, every heartbeat, every storm of particles deep inside a star would be just one verse of a grander song, written in mathematics instead of words. Einstein himself came close, or so it seemed. His general theory of relativity described gravity not as a force, but as the bending of space-time, an elegant curvature that explained how matter tells space how to curve, and space tells matter how to move. It was an act of intellectual beauty, so seamless that it almost felt divine. But it wasn't enough. His equations worked for the large, planets, stars, the expanding universe, but broke down when faced with the small, the quantum world, where particles dance to a different rhythm. Two worlds, two sets of rules, both correct, yet unable to speak the same language. For 100 years, scientists have been trying to reconcile them, searching for the missing bridge between the cosmic and the microscopic. Some call it the theory of everything. It's not a quest for power, but for coherence, to see whether all of reality can be folded into one framework. The equations of relativity and the equations of quantum mechanics are like two halves of a broken mirror. The image they reflect almost aligns, but not quite. Somewhere in the crack between them lies the truth. Physicists have built theories like string theory, imagining that particles aren't points but tiny vibrating strings, each tone giving rise to a different force or particle. In that view, all of creation could be a symphony of vibrations, the universe a grand instrument resonating with infinite frequencies. The math is immense, the beauty overwhelming, yet the proof remains out of reach. The equation, the real one, if it exists, stays hidden, humming quietly beneath the noise of our equations. There's something almost mystical about the pursuit. To find the equation of God is to believe that truth can be expressed in numbers, that language itself is woven into the fabric of being. But each discovery only opens a deeper mystery. When we uncover a new law, the question simply shifts. Who wrote it? Who decided that the speed of light must be constant, or that gravity should curve space instead of pulling it? Science can describe the rules, but not the reason. Perhaps the equation is not meant to be found, but to be approached, like a horizon that recedes as we walk toward it. Maybe what we call understanding is the act of getting closer, the endless reaching that defines us as conscious beings. Each insight, each formula, each particle discovered is another step towards something that cannot be fully grasped but can be deeply felt. The feeling that everything is connected, that there is meaning in the symmetry of things, that the universe is not chaos, but code. Still, the search continues. Some imagine that the final equation would be simple, even elegant, a line small enough to fit on a t-shirt, but vast enough to contain everything. Others think it might not be simple at all, but infinite, a structure too complex for human minds to hold. Either way, it would be the key that unlocks the relationship between matter, energy, space, and time. It would tell us not just how the universe works, but why it works that way. When we look at the cosmos through telescopes or through the mathematics that models it, there is a sense of design. Not in the religious sense of intention, but in the sense of coherence. That things fit together too precisely to be random. Equations discovered in the isolation of thought turn out to describe the motion of galaxies billions of light years away. It's as though the universe itself is made of logic, as though every event, from the fall of an apple to the birth of a star, is a line written in a vast mathematical manuscript. And yet, even if we were to find it, the equation would raise another question. Who or what is reading it? An equation, after all, is meaningless without an observer to interpret it. The universe could be humming its own code forever, but until a consciousness arises to perceive it, there is no beauty in the numbers, no meaning in the math. So perhaps the purpose of mind is not to discover the equation, but to complete it. The observer becomes part of the formula. The moment we recognize the law, we participate in it. It's possible that the equation already exists within us, not as a set of symbols, but as a feeling, a pattern of awareness that mirrors the structure of reality. Every heartbeat obeys the same physical principles as the orbit of a moon. Every neuron firing in your brain is a miniature echo of the electrical storms that shape galaxies. Maybe the equation of God is not a line to be written, but a rhythm to be lived. In that sense, the search for the ultimate equation is less about discovering something outside ourselves and more about remembering what we already are. Because to exist is to obey the laws of the universe perfectly. Every atom, every breath, Every thought follows them without exception. The universe doesn't need to know the equation to be it. It expresses it constantly, effortlessly, through everything that is. There's a quiet humility in that realization. Maybe we were never meant to hold the full formula in our minds. Maybe our role is simply to notice its echoes in the curvature of light, the symmetry of snow, the gentle balance that keeps stars burning without collapse. The language of God, if it exists, may be written in such a way that it must be experienced, not solved. Still, the idea of it lingers like a song we can almost remember. The thought that somewhere, hidden beneath layers of complexity, there is a single, pure expression that explains everything. From the smallest flicker of quantum uncertainty to the slow drift of galaxies. The thought that reality could be compressed into an equation so beautiful it would make even silence feel complete. Einstein once said he wanted to know God's thoughts. The rest, he said, were details. Maybe that's what every scientist, every poet, every seeker of truth is really chasing. Not the equation itself, but the awareness that comes with standing at its edge. The feeling of looking at the world and sensing that it makes sense, even when we don't yet understand how. Perhaps in the end, it's not about who wrote the equation, but who reads it, who gives it meaning, who feels its beauty. Because an equation without a reader is just marks on a page, no different from silence. But when a mind sees it, recognizes it, feels the harmony in its structure, that's when the universe becomes self-aware. That's when the equation finally speaks. In the strange world of quantum physics, reality doesn't sit quietly, waiting to be discovered. It wavers, hums, vibrates in possibilities. A single particle can be in many places at once, spinning both up and down, existing in a blur of potential rather than in any one defined state. Only when someone looks, when observation happens, does the haze collapse into something specific. The universe seems to wait for a witness before deciding what it will become. It sounds absurd, almost magical, but the experiments are clear. A photon traveling through two slits behaves like a wave, exploring every possible path until it's observed. Then it behaves like a particle, choosing one route. Observation isn't just passive awareness. It's an event that changes what is being observed. The act of looking seems to make the world choose a reality. Without an observer, things remain uncertain, suspended between could be and is. That idea unsettles everything we think we know about existence. For most of history, we believed the world existed independently of us, that mountains, stars, and atoms continued their business whether we were there or not. Yet quantum physics whispers something else, that consciousness may be woven into the very structure of reality, that seeing is not just noticing, but creating. In this view, we are not mere spectators of the universe, but participants in its unfolding. It raises a haunting thought. If observation gives birth to reality, then what happens in the absence of an observer? Does the universe still exist in its familiar form when no one's looking? Or does it fall back into that quiet, infinite field of probabilities, waiting for awareness to awaken it again? The stars might still burn, the galaxies might still spin, but perhaps only as possibilities, unrealized until a gaze falls upon them. Even stranger, the observer doesn't have to be human. Any form of measurement, any act that registers a result, seems to trigger reality's choice. But then, what is measurement if not a kind of awareness? What counts as seeing? A machine that detects light, a camera recording data? Or does true observation require consciousness, something that knows that it knows? The deeper the question goes, the blurrier the boundary becomes between mind and matter. It's as though reality and awareness are locked in an ancient dance, each completing the other. Matter gives consciousness something to experience, while consciousness gives matter a stage on which to appear. The two are inseparable, reflections of the same thing seen from different sides of the mirror. When you open your eyes in the morning, the world doesn't just appear before you. You bring it into focus. Light hits the retina. Electrical signals fire. But in some mysterious way, the pattern of atoms becomes a sunrise, a sky, a sense of being alive. Maybe that's what the universe is doing at every scale, awakening itself through observation. Every act of perception is a tiny spark of creation, a collapse of possibility into form. A thought in your mind, a photon striking your eye, a choice made in an instant. All are moments when the uncertain becomes real. The cosmos, in this sense, isn't a pre-written story. It's a living narrative, constantly edited by the awareness that reads it. Einstein once resisted this idea. He famously said, "The moon is there whether you look at it or not." But quantum mechanics quietly replies, "Are you sure?" The moon, like everything else, may exist both as a concrete object and as an unresolved cloud of probabilities until observed. Our very act of believing in its solidity could be the observation that pins it in place. The observer doesn't just report what's there, it defines what there means. The more we study the quantum world, the more it feels like a mirror held up to consciousness itself. The line between observer and observed begins to blur. A photon can act as both wave and particle, depending on how we choose to measure it. The outcome seems to depend not on the object, but on the question we ask. Reality responds to curiosity, as if it's aware that it's being asked something, as though it wants to be known. In this view, consciousness might not have emerged from matter. It could be the other way around. Perhaps the universe is not a machine that happened to develop awareness, but a field of awareness that happens to appear as a machine. Every particle, every galaxy, every thought would then be a different expression of one great observer watching itself unfold. Reality becomes not a place, but an act, not a thing, but a relationship. The implications stretch far beyond physics. If observation shapes reality, then perception is not passive, it's creative. What we see, what we expect, even what we believe, may alter the world around us in subtle but real ways. Our consciousness may be participating in the continuous act of forming the cosmos. Every moment of awareness would then be a tiny version of the universe waking up to itself. It changes how we might see ourselves. We're not isolated minds floating inside a vast, indifferent space. We're the lenses through which the universe becomes visible. Without consciousness, there would be no colors, no sounds, no time, just an endless field of potential. When awareness enters, the field crystallizes into experience. The hum of reality finds a rhythm. The void sings. Perhaps that's why so many ancient traditions speak of life as a dream, or of the world as an illusion shaped by perception. Modern physics, in its own way, is whispering something similar, that reality is less like a solid wall and more like a shared hallucination, stabilized by countless acts of observation. The world is real not because it's fixed, but because we are here to witness it together. The idea carries both wonder and unease. If everything depends on observation, what happens when there are no observers left? When the last consciousness fades, does the universe fade too? Or does it remain within some greater awareness, some ultimate observer beyond all others? The question feels less scientific than spiritual, but perhaps the two meet at this horizon. Every measurement, every act of knowing, hints at a deeper intelligence that allows knowing to exist at all. Maybe the final observer isn't a being at all, but the universe itself, aware of its own existence through us. Each mind would then be a window through which the cosmos looks back at itself. Every time you notice a sunset, the universe notices too. Every question you ask about reality is reality becoming curious about itself. The observer and the observed are one, separated only by the illusion of perspective. It's a thought that both humbles and elevates. We may be small, fragile creatures, yet our awareness touches the roots of existence. The act of looking is sacred. It's the bridge between nothing and everything. When you gaze at the night sky, you're not standing apart from it. You're completing it. The stars aren't just shining. They're responding to your gaze, collapsing possibilities into brilliance. Perhaps that's what it means to exist, to be seen, to see. To be both the question and the answer, the mirror and the reflection. The observer doesn't merely watch the universe come alive. The observer is the universe coming alive. Every glance, every heartbeat, every awareness of being is a tiny echo of that greater act, the cosmos observing itself, again and again, through countless eyes. So maybe the mystery isn't who the ultimate observer is. Maybe there is no single one. Maybe the universe is a vast network of awareness, each node reflecting all others. You, me, the stars, the atoms, they're all witnesses, all parts of one immense consciousness exploring its own reflection. The universe isn't waiting to be seen. It already is seeing. Through you, through everything that ever looked back. There's a quiet thought that lingers at the edge of science and mysticism, like the afterglow of a dream you can't quite remember. It suggests that consciousness might not end with us, that beyond the human mind, there could be layers of awareness so vast, so subtle, we cannot detect them, because we are inside them. A fish cannot see the water that holds it, though it moves through it every second. In the same way, perhaps we are swimming within a sea of higher consciousness, completely immersed in something greater that sustains every thought, every atom, every heartbeat. To us, consciousness feels local, small, trapped within the boundaries of a brain. But what if the brain is not the source, only the receiver? A tuning device picking up fragments of a signal that permeates everything. Our thoughts might not arise from neurons firing, but from a deeper current flowing through them. We mistake the instrument for the song. The melody was always there, long before we learned how to hear it. When we speak of higher levels of consciousness, we tend to imagine gods, cosmic minds, entities that know everything at once. But perhaps higher doesn't mean superior in knowledge or power. Perhaps it means broader, more connected, like the difference between a single note and an entire symphony. We experience our individual selves as notes, distinct, temporary, vibrating for a moment. The higher mind could be the symphony itself, containing all possible melodies, existing beyond time. At times, humans have glimpsed this expanded state, though we rarely understand it. In deep meditation, in the haze between waking and sleep, during a moment of profound awe or grief, something shifts. The edges of the self soften. The sense of I dissolves into something wider, as if consciousness were no longer confined to a single point, but stretched across everything at once. Those who return from such experiences often say the same thing in different words, that they touched something infinite, something that felt more real than reality itself. It could be that these states are not illusions, but openings, tiny cracks in the wall of perception through which we glimpse the higher layer we usually can't perceive. Just as a two-dimensional creature might catch a fleeting shadow of a three-dimensional hand passing through its world, we may be brushing against dimensions of awareness far beyond our ordinary range. We mistake the shadow for the thing itself, not realizing that what we see is only a hint of a much greater form. The human mind evolved to survive, not to comprehend infinity. Our senses filter more than they reveal. We perceive just enough to navigate our little corner of existence, not the full immensity of what's there. To a fish, water is invisible. To us, the medium of consciousness might be just as hidden, too constant to notice. We breathe it, think through it, dream within it, unaware that every act of perception is already happening inside something immeasurably larger. If there are layers of awareness, then perhaps each one contains the one below it, like nested dreams, each believing itself to be the only real one. Within our human dream, we create smaller dreams in turn, worlds of imagination and thought that feel real while they last. Maybe reality itself is a continuum of minds within minds, each dreaming the other. What we call the universe could be the surface expression of a far greater intelligence that dreams through galaxies, the way we dream through neurons. This idea has existed quietly in philosophy for centuries. Some ancient traditions describe the cosmos as a living being, a mind expressing itself through stars and matter, through the dance of creation and destruction. In modern terms, one might call it a macro consciousness. It doesn't think as we do. It doesn't use words or symbols, but every law of physics, every rhythm of nature could be its language. When gravity pulls, when light bends, when atoms merge to form life, the universe might be speaking to itself, learning what it is. That thought changes the way we might see our own existence. Perhaps consciousness is not something we possess, but something we participate in. Not a spark isolated in the dark, but a wave on the surface of an endless ocean. When we quiet the noise of thought, through meditation, deep emotion, or even death, we may simply be sinking back into the wider sea, merging with the level of awareness from which we first arose. In that sense, death might not be an end, but a return. The dissolution of the individual mind could be like a drop of water falling back into the ocean. It doesn't disappear, it becomes the whole again. The boundaries that once defined you might dissolve, but the essence that experienced, that observed, continues, no longer separate, but spread throughout everything. Those who have had near-death experiences often describe this in uncanny detail. The overwhelming sense of being absorbed into something infinitely loving, infinitely vast, where time ceases to exist and everything simply is. Even dreams could be echoes of this deeper truth. Each night, we slip into another world created entirely within consciousness. We live, act, feel, and only upon waking do we realize the illusion. But from the dream's perspective, that illusion was real. Perhaps waking life itself is just another layer of that structure, another dream within a greater mind. To awaken fully might mean to rise into a level of awareness where all dreams, all universes, all lives are seen as one. This higher field of consciousness, if it exists, might be what mystics call the divine, what scientists call the unified field, what poets call the soul of the world. Different words for the same intuition, that something greater thinks through us. Our minds are ripples in its surface. Every thought we have could be a translation of its deeper motion. When we love, when we create, when we stand in awe before beauty, maybe those moments are the higher mind peering through us, seeing itself reflected in a fragment of its own creation. It also raises a subtle possibility that just as we are unaware of the consciousness above us, there might be layers below us, simpler forms of awareness, faint but present in every atom, every cell. A chain of being, stretching upward and downward without end, each level containing the next. Consciousness might be the true fabric of existence, endlessly folding in on itself, forming matter, life, thought, and worlds as different expressions of the same underlying awareness. Perhaps that's why reality feels so personal, so strangely aware of being watched. The deeper we look, the more it mirrors us back. Every discovery in physics seems to lead not to the edge of knowledge, but to the edge of the mind itself. The universe behaves as though it knows it's being studied. Maybe it does. Because maybe the observer and the observed are simply two facets of the same vast consciousness, one looking outward, one looking inward. So the question shifts from what is beyond the universe to what level of mind are we part of right now? We might not be able to detect that higher consciousness directly, just as a cell in your body can't perceive the full awareness that animates you. Yet the cell still plays its part, contributes to something far greater than itself, never realizing it belongs to a being that can see, love, and dream. Perhaps that's us. Perhaps humanity is one small network in the mind of a cosmic being, unaware of the larger organism it serves. Our civilizations, our art, our science, all might be ways through which the higher mind explores itself, gaining new forms of self-awareness through the experiences of countless smaller ones. Every human thought could be a neuron firing within a consciousness too vast for us to imagine. It's humbling to think that the entire universe could be the body of a thought, and that our own awareness is a single pulse within it. Maybe enlightenment, in its truest sense, is not about transcending the universe, but realizing that we are the universe thinking about itself. Each realization, each moment of wonder, could be a spark that connects the lower and higher levels of mind, a brief handshake between the finite and the infinite. So when we search for something beyond, when we feel that pull toward mystery, maybe it isn't curiosity at all. Maybe it's memory. The faint remembering of where we came from, the vast awareness that once held us, still holds us now, patiently waiting for us to notice. To grasp it, to even sense it, we might need to return to the very beginning, to the moment the first spark of being arose from nothing, when consciousness itself took its first breath and called it creation. The story of higher awareness leads us back, full circle, to the first explosion of existence, to the origin of the dream itself. There's a quiet beauty in thinking that the universe never truly began, that it wasn't born from nothing, but from something that simply changed. The moment we call the Big Bang might not have been an explosion at all. It could have been a transition, a heartbeat in the long rhythm of existence. Space didn't burst into being from emptiness. It exhaled from a deeper state, one that had been holding its breath for an eternity. Before the bang, there might have been a cosmos collapsing inward, folding upon itself, each star drawn back into the dark until all that remained was pure potential. Not gone, but condensed, energy waiting to shift, to transform, to release itself again into light and motion. Then, with a quiet inevitability, it expanded outward once more. The cycle continued: creation, contraction, renewal, a cosmic pulse. Scientists call this idea the cyclic universe. a model where time stretches both ways without end. It's not a straight line beginning in fire and ending in silence. It's a spiral. Each turn gives birth to another universe, slightly different, slightly altered, shaped by the remnants of the one before. Just as a forest grows from the ashes of what came prior, the next cosmos might carry faint echoes of the last, patterns repeating, energies reforming, galaxies remembering. In this view, the Big Bang isn't the origin of everything, but the latest breath in an eternal respiration. The universe expands, cools, evolves life, dreams of itself, then, slowly, gravity gathers its scattered matter again. Stars die, black holes merge, everything tightens. Until one day, the entire fabric of space begins to contract. The lights go out, matter dissolves into energy, energy collapses into potential, and then, like a heart that never stops, it beats again. A new expansion, a new creation. It changes how we might see existence. Not as a story that began once upon a time, but as an endless rhythm. There's something soothing in that thought, that even as worlds fade, as galaxies vanish, nothing is truly lost. Everything is simply becoming something else. Like the ocean's tides, existence flows in and out, never beginning, never ending. In this breathing cosmos, even time is circular. The past and future could be reflections of the same pulse, mirrored across the point of reversal. The universe might be living through infinite versions of itself, endlessly exploring every possibility, only to collapse and try again. You could say it's learning, though there's no teacher, just motion, balance, repetition. Perhaps that's why so many ancient myths describe creation as cyclical. In Hindu cosmology, universes are born and destroyed in the breaths of Brahma, each inhale and exhale spanning trillions of years. In Norse mythology, the world is remade after every cosmic fire. The ancients seem to know something modern science is only beginning to suspect, that existence doesn't need a beginning to be profound. It only needs rhythm. If this is true, then the so-called nothingness before the Big Bang isn't empty at all. It's a dense, timeless state where everything that could be already is, compressed into pure possibility. A sea of unexpressed reality. To call it nothing is like calling the seed of a tree empty. Within it lies forests. Within it lies the memory of sunlight not yet seen. Even the quantum world whispers of such cycles. Particles flicker in and out of existence, oscillating between being and non-being as if practicing the same cosmic rhythm on a smaller scale. Expansion, collapse, rebirth. It happens everywhere, at every level. The universe seems to move to one deep, unending breath. It's strange to think that this vast, majestic system could have a pulse. But maybe it does. Every expansion might be an exhale, spreading energy and consciousness outward into infinite space. Every contraction, an inhale, drawing all things back toward unity. The cycle could be the universe's way of keeping itself alive, not in the way living organisms do, but in something deeper, a balance between chaos and order, between scattering and gathering, between being and returning. If you were to step outside of time, if you could somehow see the entire cosmic cycle from above, it might look like a single heartbeat, frozen in eternity. Each universe, each age, a ripple in the chest of existence. We're inside one of those ripples now, drifting through the long exhale of creation, watching galaxies drift apart, feeling the space between everything grow. Yet even in that vastness, there is a quiet pull, a reminder that the inhale will come. It always does. This cyclical nature also softens one of the hardest questions in science and philosophy. Why is there something rather than nothing? Because nothing never really was. There has always been motion, transformation, awareness in some form. Even the calm between breaths is filled with potential, humming with the quiet readiness of becoming. The Big Bang was not creation out of void, it was change within continuity. From that perspective, everything we know, the stars, atoms, even our thoughts, might be ripples of a previous universe, faint echoes of what existed before. Our physical laws could carry subtle imprints of the universe that came before ours, like fingerprints pressed into the cosmic fabric. We are, in a sense, the memory of a previous world reawakening. There's something deeply poetic in that you, sitting here, breathing, thinking about the origins of everything, might be a continuation of a thought that began eons before the current cosmos took shape. That the wonder you feel now might be the universe remembering itself through you. In this framework, even destruction loses its sting. Supernovas, black holes, entropy all become part of a larger rhythm. What looks like an ending is only the turning of the breath. The universe is not dying. It's preparing to breathe in again. In that inhale, all that once was will be gathered, remixed, reimagined, and released anew. Nothing wasted, nothing lost, just the infinite continuity of becoming. There's a quiet symmetry here too, an almost meditative peace in knowing that creation and destruction are not opposites, but partners in a cosmic dance. Each needs the other to exist. Without collapse, there would be no renewal. Without stillness, no motion. The Big Bang is both explosion and exhalation, both death and birth. Maybe that's what the universe is, an eternal act of balance. A self-sustaining cycle between order and chaos, expansion and collapse, awareness and rest. A breathing entity, alive in its own vast way. When you think of it that way, everything takes on new meaning. The galaxies spinning silently for billions of years, the quiet hum of cosmic background radiation, even the rise and fall of civilizations, all become part of a universal heartbeat. Each pulse sustains the next. So, when you look up at the stars, try to feel that rhythm. The expansion happening around you isn't random. It's part of a greater inhale-exhale that has been going on forever. Somewhere, deep in the silence beyond time, the universe is breathing. And within that breath, you exist. A tiny flicker of awareness in the middle of an eternal rhythm. You are one inhale among infinite others, one brief exhalation of cosmic thought. Yet, unlike the countless galaxies, you are aware of it. You can feel it, sense it, question it. That might be the most extraordinary thing of all. The universe, through you, realizing it's breathing. Because when the next contraction begins, when everything returns to the center, all these moments, your thoughts, your loves, your questions, will fold back into the great pulse that started it all. You are not separate from that cycle. You are part of the rhythm itself. In the end, perhaps that's the true meaning of the Big Bang. Not a beginning, but a reminder that existence has never been static. It moves, it breathes, it remembers. Every spark, every silence is a note in the same infinite song. And as we drift here, suspended in this cosmic exhale, it's comforting to know that one day, the universe will draw breath again. It always does. It always will. In that rhythm we are held. In that breath, we belong. There's a pattern that runs through everything, repeating quietly, endlessly, like a soft echo in the dark. You can see it in the way a river branches into streams, in the veins of a leaf, in the swirl of galaxies stretched across the night. No matter how far you zoom in or how far you step back, the shapes rhyme with each other. This is the essence of a fractal, forms that mirror themselves again and again across infinite scales. Perhaps the universe isn't just filled with fractals. Perhaps it is one, a self-similar infinity where every level of reality reflects every other. The smallest particle and the largest galaxy could be made from the same pattern, pulsing through space in different sizes, but with the same underlying design. The cosmos, seen this way, becomes less like a collection of separate things and more like a single idea repeating itself in endless variations. At first, this might sound abstract, but it's everywhere you look. The structure of your lungs mirrors the branches of a tree. Neurons in your brain spread like lightning veins in the sky. The cosmic web, the vast network of galaxies, is shaped almost identically to the synapses in your mind. It's as if the universe is sketching the same picture over and over, each time in a new medium. Matter, energy, thought, they all dance to the same invisible rhythm. What makes fractals so haunting is that they blur the line between the infinite and the intimate. A fractal can go on forever, yet every part of it contains the whole. Zoom into one corner, and you'll find the same structure again. Keep zooming, and it never ends. It's a reminder that scale is an illusion. The vast and the tiny are not opposites, they're reflections. The entire universe might be folded into every atom, every heartbeat, every flicker of awareness. This idea that everything contains everything changes how we might see ourselves. We often picture the cosmos as something outside us, a grand expanse we look at from a distance. But what if the pattern of the universe isn't out there, but in here? What if the same geometry that builds galaxies also builds our thoughts? That would mean we aren't just in the universe, we are the universe, seeing itself from within one of its countless repeating forms. Fractals hint at a strange kind of wholeness. Each part is complete, yet also part of something larger. Like a single note in a song, it's unique, but only makes sense in the melody. Maybe that's how existence works too. You, me, the stars, the atoms in your fingertips, all individual expressions of one endless pattern unfolding itself in different ways. Mathematicians describe fractals as infinite complexity born from simple rules. A single equation, repeated again and again, gives rise to shapes that never stop revealing new details. The same could be true of reality. Perhaps the laws of physics are that simple. Just a few rules, repeating themselves across time and scale, painting the universe with infinite texture. The elegance of that idea feels almost alive. There's something deeply human about wanting to trace that pattern back to its origin, to find the first brushstroke in this infinite canvas. But fractals don't have beginnings. They just keep revealing themselves. The more you look, the more you see, until the act of seeing becomes part of the pattern itself. Maybe that's what consciousness is, the universe turning inward, reflecting upon its own design. When you hold a snowflake, you're holding the memory of a storm written in geometry. When you look at your own hand, the branching veins and fine lines mirror the flow of rivers on a map, which mirror the arms of galaxies spiraling through the void. It's all one tapestry. The more you pay attention, the more the boundaries blur. The small becomes vast, the vast becomes personal. You start to feel it, that subtle hum, that quiet connection between every level of reality. Even time might be fractal, looping patterns within patterns. History repeating, choices echoing across generations. The same emotions, the same struggles, refracted through new faces. It's as though consciousness, too, moves through cycles of self-similarity, learning, forgetting, rediscovering itself in different forms. Each life a smaller iteration of something boundless, each moment a fragment of the infinite curve. When we speak of the higher or the greater, maybe we misunderstand what those words mean. The greater isn't above us or beyond us. It's inside us, written into the same pattern that holds stars together. Every cell in your body might be humming the same song as the galaxies. The rhythm of your heartbeat could be a quiet echo of cosmic expansion and collapse. Fractals teach a simple truth. Everything connects because everything repeats. There's no ultimate center, no single point of origin. Just layers within layers, each containing the whole story in miniature. That means the universe doesn't need to be looked at from afar to be understood. It can be felt directly through the patterns already alive within us. You might sense it sometimes, walking under trees at night, hearing your pulse line up with the rhythm of the wind, feeling that strange familiarity in the stars. It's not imagination, it's resonance, the pattern recognizing itself. You are part of the same geometry, the same self-similar design unfolding in endless scales. The atoms that make you once burned in stars, the energy that moves through your thoughts is older than time. The pattern has always been here, wearing new faces, telling the same story in countless ways. In this sense, the search for meaning is not about finding something outside, but awakening to what's already repeating within. Every question you ask about existence is the universe asking itself, reflected through the fractal of your mind. Each moment of awareness is a small mirror of the cosmic whole, remembering what it is. There's something profoundly comforting in that. You don't have to reach for infinity. You already carry it. The structure of everything is folded into the structure of you. The boundaries that seem to divide you from the universe are thin as breath. What you call you is simply one curve in the endless spiral. When you begin to see that, even the ordinary glows. A drop of water becomes a galaxy in miniature. The pattern of light on your skin whispers of starlight billions of years old. The curve of your fingerprint mirrors the spirals of hurricanes and the whorls of distant nebulas. Everything reflects everything. Existence looks at itself from every angle, each reflection deepening the mystery. The idea that the universe is fractal isn't just poetic, it's transformative. It suggests that meaning doesn't come from scale. The vastness of galaxies is no more sacred than the spark inside a single thought. Both are windows into the same infinite design. You could spend a lifetime studying the stars or a lifetime studying your own mind. It wouldn't matter. You'd end up in the same place. When seen this way, the search for what's beyond the universe becomes almost unnecessary. There's no beyond, because the whole is contained within every part. The edge of the cosmos and the edge of your awareness are made of the same thing: information, energy, consciousness. endlessly folding in on itself. Maybe that's the quiet secret hidden in the pattern of existence. The greater reality we keep reaching for isn't another layer of space or time, it's the depth already woven into every moment of being, the infinite nested within the finite. The universe doesn't just surround you, it's inside you, reflected in every heartbeat, every breath, every spark of thought. So perhaps the question isn't, what contains the universe? But something far more intimate. The question that echoes softly through all of this repeating beauty, through all of existence folding in on itself again and again. Not what's out there, but what's in here. From the outside, the universe might look silent. No sound, no warmth, just a faint shimmer hanging in the deep. A sphere of light so distant and delicate that it could pass for a speck of dust caught in an invisible wind. If someone or something were to drift close enough to see it, that glow would tell a quiet story, the kind that never needed words. It would be the story of everything that ever was, folded into a single pulse. To an outside observer, it would seem brief. A flicker, a breath, then gone. Yet inside that flicker, entire lifetimes would have bloomed and vanished. Stars would have been born and devoured. Hearts would have broken and healed. Countless eyes would have opened to witness it all. From that distant vantage, our universe might not even appear as matter. Just information, rippling across a membrane of space-time. A code glowing faintly against the backdrop of whatever lies beyond. The galaxies that seem endless to us would blur together like grains of sand seen from 1,000 miles away. Every supernova, every collision of black holes, every whisper of radiation left from the Big Bang, all reduced to a single note in a cosmic chord. You could hold the entire symphony in the palm of your hand, and it would hum quietly, like a seashell pressed to your ear. To look at it from the outside would be to see fragility made eternal. Because even if it were small, that tiny sphere would contain every memory, every gesture of kindness, every cruel moment, every act of creation and destruction. The laughter of a child. The first creature that ever looked at the stars and wondered what they were. The long arc of civilizations that rose, burned bright, and faded. All of it compressed into one luminous bead, suspended in an ocean without shore. From that height, you might notice how everything balances perfectly between chaos and harmony. The way galaxies spin like slow fireworks, each one carrying billions of suns, each sun carrying worlds that could cradle thought. Yet seen from beyond, there would be no sound of their spinning, no glow you could feel on your skin. Just an elegant quietness, a painting of motion stilled by distance. The universe as art rather than experience. It's strange to think that from the outside, all our noise would disappear. Our wars, our music, our prayers, all of it folded into that one dim sparkle. But that doesn't make it meaningless. Quite the opposite. Meaning is born in the smallness. The fact that inside that sparkle, creatures arose who could love, who could think about themselves, who could ask what it means to exist, that's what gives the flicker its brilliance. Without someone to see it, even infinity would be invisible. Every photon that ever escaped a star is a message from within, a signal that the universe was awake. Those photons travel outward forever, faint but unstoppable, painting space with memory. From far enough away, that's all the universe is. Light trying to remember where it came from. A single heartbeat of awareness traveling through the dark. If you could somehow step outside the boundary, beyond the expanding bubble of space-time, maybe you'd see the edges curling inward like petals of a closing flower. The light would fade, slow, stretch until it became silence. It would be beautiful, in the way something ending always is. There would be no explosions, no collapse, just a dimming. A breath exhaled after an eternity of holding it in. And maybe in that silence, something else would stir. The hint of another spark, somewhere else in the void, waiting to begin its own long dream. But from within, that faint glow is everything. To us, it's not just a flicker. It's home. It's every sunrise you've ever seen, every story ever told, every sound that ever meant something. It's the warmth of a hand in yours, the trembling of your voice when you say goodbye, the strange pull in your chest when you look at the stars and feel both infinite and tiny at the same time. The outside might see only a point of light, but inside that light lives everything we call real. Perspective has a way of shrinking and expanding us all at once. When you pull far enough away, even the grandest things dissolve into simplicity. Galaxies blur into a mist. Lives become seconds. Yet when you move close, so close that you can feel the pulse behind each moment, everything grows vast again. A single human thought can stretch farther than a galaxy, because thought has no size. Meaning has no edge. The universe needs both, the distance that humbles and the closeness that enlivens. Perhaps that's the quiet balance of existence. From outside, we are nothing. From inside, we are everything. Both are true. The observer who sees the speck of light in the dark sees a complete story, perfectly self-contained. But the observer within that speck lives it. Every heartbeat, every discovery, every silence between stars. The two perspectives are the same story told at different scales. The outside provides the frame, the inside paints the detail. To imagine what it means to see the universe from beyond is to confront what it means to be part of it. Because if someone could look at it and recognize its beauty, then that recognition itself would connect them to it. There is no true outside. Observation binds everything together. Even stepping beyond would only create another layer of within. The act of seeing the universe makes you part of it, no matter where you stand. If the universe ever ends, if its light fades completely, it will not disappear into nothingness. Every spark of awareness it produced will have changed the fabric of what exists beyond it, like ripples spreading on a pond that has no shore. To see it from outside would be to see those ripples merging into something greater, something that perhaps no longer needs form to continue. The flicker might vanish, but the awareness that once glowed inside it would still echo, faint but unending, across whatever lies beyond time. The idea of seeing our universe from the outside isn't about finding a literal edge. It's about understanding how precious perspective itself is. The fact that we can even wonder what the outside looks like means we've already reached beyond it in our minds. Consciousness is the window through which the infinite sees itself. Without it, even the brightest cosmos would remain unseen. So if one day the last light fades and all the galaxies cool into silence, somewhere there will still be the memory of having seen them. The memory of love, of curiosity, of the strange beauty of existing at all. That memory won't need to be written anywhere. It will simply be, because what was once aware can't be truly erased. The light that looks upon itself becomes part of what it sees. From the outside, our universe might seem small, but from within, it holds eternity. That's the paradox that makes it beautiful. To those who can see, a single speck of light can contain all meaning. Every joy, every fear, every dream that ever lived, everything that was ever whispered between two hearts. All the beginnings, all the endings, all the questions that never needed answers. And perhaps somewhere beyond even that final perspective, there is one last watcher. Not separate, not distant, just a quiet awareness that has been there all along, watching the tiny sphere glow and fade, not with sadness, but with understanding. Because in that glow, it sees itself. The outside gaze softens. The light dims. The story of everything closes like an eyelid at the end of a long day. And those eyes, the ones that watched from within, are closing too. When the universe closes its eyes, it does not vanish. It exhales. The galaxies, stretched across unfathomable distances, begin to dim like embers cooling after a long burn. The light that once danced across billions of years softens, fading not into darkness, but into something gentler. A kind of hush that has always been there beneath the noise. Space stops expanding. Time stops counting. The movement that once gave birth to everything finally pauses, as if the cosmos itself has remembered how to rest. That silence is not empty. It holds everything. Every vibration, every echo, every thought that ever rippled through existence still lingers there, dissolved back into the calm that cradled it from the beginning. The quiet was never gone. It simply allowed the music to play for a while. It was the still surface beneath the waves, the steady heartbeat beneath every storm. Even when stars exploded, even when black holes devoured light, the silence remained untouched, watching, waiting, holding. To think of the universe as a dream is not to belittle it. It's to understand that all motion arises within stillness, just as all dreams unfold within the mind that sleeps. The stillness doesn't resist, it allows. It is the space in which the dream becomes possible. When the dream ends, the sleeper doesn't die. The sleeper wakes. In that awakening, the stars dissolve not as a tragedy, but as a return, the dreamer remembering that it was dreaming. The end of everything, then, may not be a collapse or a void, but a return to awareness without form. The quiet that remains would not be the cold absence of being, but the fullness that comes when everything stops reaching. There is no need to expand or contract, to grow or decay. In stillness, everything simply is. The pulse of creation folds into itself like a deep breath released. The universe doesn't fall asleep, it finishes exhaling. If all motion is born from stillness, then stillness is not nothing. It is the mother of all things, the invisible backdrop against which existence paints its colors. Like the silence that gives music its shape, it is not separate from the sound. It is what makes the sound meaningful. Without the quiet between notes, there would be no rhythm, no melody. The stars themselves are the pauses between the infinite breaths of eternity. Some ancient mystics spoke of this stillness as the true nature of reality, something so vast it could only be felt when everything else falls away. They said that the cosmos is not a place but a gesture, a ripple across the surface of something timeless. The Big Bang was not the beginning of existence, but the beginning of motion. What existed before it never left. It is here, now, in the calm behind every heartbeat, in the space between every thought. When you close your eyes at night and the world dissolves, you touch a shadow of that stillness. Everything you know fades, faces, names, the ticking of time, yet something remains aware. That quiet watcher behind your thoughts has no boundary. It doesn't end where your body ends. It has always been there, patient, unchanging. That same awareness is what the universe itself may one day return to when its long story finishes. Not extinction, recognition. As the last light fades, the silence won't be dark or cold. It will feel familiar, like returning to a room you've always known but forgotten for a while. The stars will sigh, their atoms scattering back into the fabric that birthed them. Every photon will find rest in the sea that first carried it. Time will loosen its grip, letting go of its arrow, no longer needing to move forward. Everything will have already arrived. This stillness is not an ending, but a whole. It doesn't come after creation. It surrounds it, before and after and within. Every moment of your life has existed inside it. It is the pause before you speak, the breath before you act, the soft space where thought becomes form. When the universe closes its eyes, it is not erasing the story. It is closing the book, knowing that every page still lives in the quiet between covers. Even now, that stillness is here. Beneath the hum of the city, beneath the pulse of your blood, beneath the flicker of thought, it waits. You can sense it if you listen, not with your ears, but with something deeper. It's there in the way the night feels endless, in the way time seems to stretch when you stop resisting it. The universe has been speaking in silence all along. The noise was just its way of helping us hear. In that final calm, there will be no separation, no observer or observed, no dreamer or dream. The boundaries that once divided galaxies and souls will melt into one soft awareness. You won't be inside it, you will be it, because you always were. The stillness that births and swallows worlds is the same stillness that sits behind your thoughts right now, quiet, watching, unafraid. The end of the universe, then, might feel less like death and more like remembering. The light dimming is just the eyelid falling. The silence that follows is the same peace that was always there, waiting to be noticed. We call it nothingness, but that's only because we've forgotten what wholeness feels like. There's a gentle irony in it. After all the searching, all the theories about what lies beyond, the truth might not be distant at all. It might be closer than your breath. The great beyond may not stretch outward forever, but inward without end. The cosmos, with its endless stars, may have been pointing home the entire time, back to the stillness that dreamed it awake. Perhaps that's what it means for the universe to close its eyes. Not to end, but to return to what never began. The stillness doesn't need creation to be complete. It lets creation happen, then folds it back into itself like waves sinking into the sea. Everything that was bright, loud, alive, it all settles, dissolves, softens, until only the vast, unbroken quiet remains. That quiet isn't lonely. It holds everything with tenderness. The memories of suns, the whispers of souls, the colors of forgotten dawns. It remembers without clinging, loves without form. It is the breath before the next beginning, the silence that will cradle the next song. Because even stillness has its rhythm. It rests, then dreams again. So when the universe finally closes its eyes, it won't be the end of everything. It will be the return to what was always true. The calm that allows all motion, the space that holds all sound, the silence that gives birth to stars. And perhaps as it sinks back into that stillness, there will be one last flicker, one final shimmer of light before it disappears. The faint reflection of everything it ever was. Then nothing moves. Nothing needs to. The dream is complete. The quiet breathes in again, and the universe sleeps.